Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. It is March 16th. I am very glad that you're here today. So, quite the weekend, a lot of news, a lot going on. The numbers, frankly, are getting worse. People are becoming more panicked and more concerned, as I almost want to say, like, as reality is setting in terms of what it is that we're actually globally dealing with. So, what I wanted to do, though, was take a look and see just exactly how it is that the President of the United States is coping with this. What is going on with him mentally, physically, emotionally, and how does that impact his ability to govern or govern clearly? What goes on with him? What's he thinking about? So that's what we're going to take a look at today, because I think understanding at least a little bit of what he is going through, what his thought processes are, could be helpful, because then we have a bit more clarity of sort of what you're dealing with. All right, come on down. I have a question. Okay, now, before I shuffle the cards, I just want to take a moment because I know that there's a lot of you out there who just really enjoy my rings and my jewelry. And for those of you who are wondering, you literally can see, I'm not really a hand model or a ring model, you can tell. I am wearing 3 cameo rings, one, frankly, more exquisite and beautiful than the other. And I just want to take a personal moment to send out my thanks and my gratitude to Sylvie of Quebec, the province of Quebec, for these beautiful rings. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's focus in on Trump and see what is going on with him, shall we? One more quick shuffle. Here we go. Move that back a little bit. All right. Trump. Mental. No, I don't like that. Trump current state. Trump current state. Trump current state. Because it's really not just mental, physical, or emotional. We want to know collectively what that is doing with him. Okay, so this one stayed on the bottom. So, it's a battle. He's got people moving away from him. He sees that his behavior is not being responded to well. People are starting to question his authority. They're starting to question his ability to govern, to rule, to tell the truth. Now, for a lot of us, this isn't news. But for some people, it actually is kind of an insight that maybe they hadn't thought about or had to explore. So that's kind of where he's in right now, right? He's looking at the loss of support. And I can promise you that nothing aggravates him harder or faster than the fact that Pence is actually coming across as at least more able or more capable of dealing with everything that's going on right now than he is. That just sends him, because, he very much views Pence as sort of a coffee boy. But he's starting to have awareness of the fact that people are literally saying things like, maybe it would be best if you just didn't talk. Let Pence handle this, because frankly, he's not great, but he's better than you. Okay. So that's sort of the energy that's swirling around him right now. he is very, very worried. Okay, so he's worried. This death card represents a bunch of different stuff. On the one hand, he's worried about his presidency dying, right? He's worrying about that whole thing coming to an end. He's worried about the financial hit that he is going to take as a result of this. He understands that a lot of the money he made in the last little while, particularly through stock manipulation, is going to be lost. And so it just feels as if in many ways he is just facing endings on many, many levels. And, the other thing to remember is he has such an overwhelming need for attention and adulation and approval. And he's not getting it. He's not getting it from the people around him. He's not getting it from some of the members of his own party. And it is starting to take a bit of a toll on him. And so the judgment, frankly, it's crushing him. It is absolutely crushing him. Up until this point in the last 3.5 years, he really has had the ability to sort of brush it off. It was starting to feel like the guy was made of Teflon, right? Everything just slid off of him. And he's now finding himself in a position where not only is it not sliding off, but it is sticking. And it is sticking with very, very harsh judgment. And his ego is so broken. He is so broken and so fragile that he is not going to, in some ways, I almost want to say recover or rebound from this. There is very definitely a sense that he finally is starting to see the writing on the wall. It doesn't matter what performance goes on in public. It doesn't matter how cavalier he thinks he is and how smart and clever. It's not working. And he's becoming more and more aware of the fact that, frankly, it is not working. It's not working for him. It's not working for his government. It's not working for the country. So there is a lot kind of going on with him as he is trying to struggle with sort of how to balance this thing, right? How to appear like he has it under control when in fact internally he is screaming with hysteria because everything is falling apart on him. Everything is crashing. And he doesn't have any comprehension or understanding of how to actually pull it back together, bring it back to a place where he can sort of hide back behind his little wall of illusions in order to ride out the storm. He's starting to really recognize that this storm is going to go on for a while. And he looks really bad. And every time he opens his mouth with one of those statements where he tries to distance himself, I don't know about that. No, I don't take responsibility. You need to talk to somebody else. Somebody told me. It's all starting to backfire on him. It's all coming home to roost. And the judgment is going to be, I'm sorry, it's going to be really, really hard. Do not, wow, what a terrible grouping of cards to get. Do not expect to see him take a bit of a quieter role in the next little while. And so this is kind of what you're going to see. First of all, I do understand that the test results came back on him and they were negative. And all I'm going to say to that is over the last 3 years, we have figured out that we should watch what they do and not what they say. Is it possible that we're going to see less of him? Is it possible you're going to see meetings delayed or canceled because he is actually keeping a very, very low, quiet profile? And part of the reason for that, he could still be sick. I'm sorry, I don't believe actually what they've said. That's, just my opinion. But he is such a germaphobe that as things continue to escalate, you're going to see him almost distancing himself, almost in terms of survival, right? He's starting to view things very, very much in terms of how it, not starting to, he always has, but in an amplified way. He is really starting to view everything that is swirling around as, what does this do for me? What does this mean for me? What does this mean for my family? What does this mean for my presidency? What does this mean for my brand? What does this mean for my name? It's all exclusively always about him. And again, you're saying, well, what's different? Well, what's different is the amplification of it. It's becoming bigger and more pronounced. And there's stuff going on that he just really, he doesn't know how to cope with anymore, right? It's so beyond his capacity. Not only his intellectual capacity, but his emotional capacity, all of it. It's just beyond him. He is starting to see that it is possible, but it may be that the only way that he actually survives this intact is to walk away. But even if he doesn't walk away before the election, it's going to be really apparent that he's not going into this re-election in any kind of a position of power. Now, okay. So, continue to realize and recognize that women in positions of power and authority drive him insane. Okay, and the more anxious he gets and the more riled up he gets, the less and less tolerance he has for women who are not staying in their place or even nevertheless persisting. And so you can see or anticipate more antagonism against Nancy Pelosi, more antagonism against women who speak out against either what is going on or speak out about what isn't going on, what isn't being done. People who speak out about how inept and incompetent the handling of this has been in his country. So you can anticipate more of that. And it's interesting, but part of the way that you're going to actually see that happening is that even though he is going to, I swear, we're going to see less of him in the coming days. Does that mean we're going to hear less of him? I'm sorry, I don't think so. So expect more crazy tweeting. Expect more phone calls with Fox and Friends and Hannity. Expect, even to some degree, more surrogates trying to get out there. But even they are starting to push back and realize, you know what, I have to go home to my community, my family, my constituents, and I need to start being incredibly careful about what I say and how I say it. So he's actually going to have people who are going to say, I'm sorry, I really can't. I can't go out there on the Sunday talk shows and just babble like a fool because you want me to. So there's going to be a lot of kinetic energy going on around him. Things are going to be sparking, and that sparking is literally going to be from frustration, from anger, from resentment, from rage. So in some ways, generally what I'm getting literally at this point from this reading is almost a sense of as the pressure mounts, he is going to become more and more and more erratic, and he's going to try to keep on he's going to continue to try to spin, and he's not really going to be able to spin. Oh, look at, there's little Atticus. Look, he looks like a little rump roast, doesn't he? Okay, where was I? He's going to keep spinning. He's going to keep trying to, say things, alter the story, shift the facts, etc., because he just doesn't know any other way. You have to understand, his strength, if it is that, is in marketing. It is in merchandising. It is in selling. Okay, now granted, what he sells is snake oil, but he sells. And so that is his only frame of reference. That is the only thing he knows how to do. And what he doesn't understand is the more he talks and the more the truth comes out, and people realize day after day after day that the two don't hold any connection to each other, you're going to see that tower just coming down on him. I'm sorry, like a ton of bricks. And he's going to honestly become imprisoned by his own words, by his own deals, by his own inadequacies. Harder and harder for him to find a way to position himself or to talk or to speak or to draw attention to himself that honestly is not incredibly, that it is not received with incredible doubt and disdain. More and more people are literally going to say, God, shut up. Just be quiet. Stop talking. You're making it worse. But again, you have a party that has enabled this insane behavior for 3.5 years. And now they're going to go and they're going to tell him to behave. That's going to work. No, it's not going to work. And the more it doesn't work, the more the tower crumbles, the more it comes down. The more he sees the fact that he is losing, and the more he sees the fact that judgment is being rained down on his head, and he doesn't frankly like the feeling of it. Why am I not surprised? Literally, why am I not surprised? Judgment, death, judgment, tower, the devil. He's become more erratic. You're going to see him in a few more altered states. You're going to see him completely, he's going to come unglued. Okay, he's going to completely unravel because he does not have a way to combat this. And his paranoia, his insecurities are all going to ramp up. So, where and how do you get information that is going to make sense? Who do you listen to? What do you listen to? More and more, you are going to find that local officials step up. You're going to have some amazing city mayors or town mayors. You're going to have some incredible governors stepping into the fray. You're going to see some really amazing work coming from the Democrats, both in the House, of course, with Pelosi, but even from the Senate. You're going to start seeing really forceful push back against the lies, the stories, and the half-truths. And you're going to see that more and more people are going to start talking really honestly. There has been some talk about, because that Dr. Fushi, God, I hope I say that right, is, out there kind of telling the truth, and the truth doesn't necessarily look really great for him, that he is going to fire him or get rid of him. If he tries to do that, he is going to be imprisoned by his own party. They will literally go into that Oval Office and tell him to sit down, shut up, and not say a word. Don't think about it. Don't talk about it. You're in quarantine, buddy. We're putting you in quarantine. So I don't actually see that doctor's going to be removed anytime soon. But Trump is going to continue to face questions about, why was the CDC, why was their budget cut so dramatically? Why did you not react faster? Why, when things were going on in China in December, were you not sounding alarm bells here? More and more pressure, more and more questions. He's not going to handle it well. So I guess what I'm trying to say to you is, crazy makes crazy, right? Fear makes fear. Panic makes panic. And so it's really important, as things start swirling around and they get bigger and scarier and more frightening and like more toxic. It's really important that you get your information from reliable sources. Sometimes it's a really good thing, especially all you people out there with internet. Sometimes it's a really good thing to just take a look at how other countries are coping, what their suggestions are, um, what they're saying. It's not about the numbers, right? It's about things like self-isolation and washing your hands, and whether the virus is killed with cold or heat. Um, keep yourself to very, very reliable sources of information, sources that are completely trustworthy, sources from other countries. I'm sorry. The CDC slowly but surely is getting their act together, and they're responding well. The problem is, they were kneecapped right from the beginning with this whole test that was a big mess. And so they are so far behind the eight ball. And you have to realize no government official, whether that's from the CDC or the White House, is going to get on camera and say, listen, we are now doubling in confirmed cases daily. Every 12 hours, the number is increasing exponentially. But we're actually not going to have any test kits for, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks. Or, oh, well, you can have the test, except it's going to take you 14 days to actually get the results, at which time you have to be self-quarantined. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they're so far behind the eight ball that it's going to become more and more difficult, almost like for them themselves, to contain the panic. And so get your information from other sources and do what you need to do to keep yourself safe. And frankly, prepare for the fact that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And more things are going to shut down and close in an attempt to halt the forward motion of the situation and of this virus. So there's that. Listen, don't give up hope. Don't panic. So on my Friday video, I was bragging a wee little bit about Canada and the fact that there were the scientists who had managed to isolate and replicate the virus. And so that was going to be amazing because, hopefully that would give them some insights in how to treat it. Vaccines are still, they're 12 to 18 months away. But there are also other countries. Australia apparently has been doing amazing stuff. Other countries have been working very, very hard. In fact, you have somebody, if anybody saw Rachel Maddow on Friday, I think it was, she was talking about David Ho, Dr. David Ho out of, I think, California, who was the leader, the innovative outside the box thinker that sort of was able to understand AIDS and start to turn that around. He is also working on trying to isolate this, trying to figure out how to treat it. So you have amazing people all over the world. Okay, I'm Canadian, I bragged, but this magician card is literally showing you that different elements, different governments, different countries are going to get together to shine light on the situation and ultimately be victorious. Okay, and things are going to start moving faster. But this is the thing to realize. As the disease spreads fastest, as people's lives are more and more disrupted and it becomes that much scarier, the other thing that's going on behind the scenes is research is happening faster. Those test kits really are going to get out there. More and more people are being mobilized to, try to combat this. Governments are going to come up with more and more ideas and of how to quarantine people, of how to separate things, of how to slow things down. Don't give up hope. It's there. You can trust that you're going to come out the other end of this. You really are. And just because you have a fool in office does not mean that he is going to be allowed to destroy the country with his own ineptitude and ignorance. Comfort. Take comfort, people. We're going to get through this, but you know what? We're not going to get through it as a country or a city or a town. We're going to get through it globally. We're going to learn from each other. We're going to share information with each other. We're going to take care of each other. We're going to be mindful of each other. And we're going to get through it. These are tough, tough times. Hang in there. Don't give up. Don't panic. And just understand that there are many, many people at many, many different levels who are doing their level best to get this under control, to make the right decisions, to help people, to keep things, contained and safe for the majority. And understand that countries are working with countries, and more importantly, understand that energy beings and angels and the divine are also working with the humans on the planet, okay? We're not alone. We're not going to be alone. And we're going to come out the other end of this, perhaps a little battle weary and probably a whole lot wiser. Because for the first time since the phrase, okay, sorry, I hit a button and I shouldn't have. So what I was saying was, for the first time since the phrase "a global village" was coined, we actually are starting to really, really understand that we are. There are no borders, and we are all one. Until next time, take care, be well. I'll see you soon.